Marketed to people who aren't surgeons, who even after appropriate training from very skilled personnel feel themselves uncomfortable. Is that an emergency when you stab people in the intestines? Like, yeah. And with the laser lipo, so you've got Beautifil, there's Smart Lipo. What are the other brand names of lasers? I'm trying to remember.
I mean, those are the two that I remember that are around.
Those are
like
the biggies.
There's a third one, and it's older. I don't know if you can even get any more. That was around at the time when I got my Beautifil, but that kind of phased out. I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, there's not. I don't know if laser has been such a big push lately for liposuction that I know of.
I think was it Cyanoshore? I think was another one. Can't remember.
Yeah, I know they have a few different devices. It might be one of them. Might be a laser lipo.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where you're trying to package all the goals for liposuction in a singular device, which sounds great, but if it does all three of them not awesome, then it's not what you really want. But having the laser, break up tissues, that's what Vaser is for, right? That's what we use Vaser for. That is these ultrasonic technologies have been around for decades at this point. That's like tried and true. They continue to repackage it and change it under kind of different companies' names, but that's something that's been around. It's like, does the laser from Laser Lipo work as well as Vaser? I would argue it doesn't. It still sucks things out, which is awesome. Still works like standard lipo. And then when you look at what it refers to, talking about skin contraction and tightening the skin, even when you look at the paperwork from Beautifil, I think it either says mild or minimal. It says like minimal skin tightening. Yeah. Like that's what they're pushing even on the brochure. They're not saying that you're going to get a huge change from that. So is it a replacement for Renuvion, which is made specifically for that? And I would say it's also not a replacement for that. So they've tried to get everything together in one package, but it didn't quite meet the mark for all the things it was trying to meet. And if it did, that would be great, because if you take Vaser and Microair and Renuvion and smash them together, you would have a heck of a cost savings buying just a single system that was going to do that. But I just don't think that it kind of meets that.
Well, I think, the issue I personally had and why I kind of parted ways, I used to actually speak for them and give a lot of talks. But what I realized was, and I would do trainings, but they were trying to push a device, an all-in-one device like this, to make it sound so easy and safe to do that anyone could essentially do it. So they were selling this device to nurse practitioners, physician assistants, family practice doctors, ER doctors, and I know because a lot of them tried to come to my trainings, and I had refused to come, and I said, look, I will only train plastic surgeons and plus or minus dermatologists who have experience in liposuction. I wasn't going to do any beginner courses because, for me as a plastic surgeon, I just felt like that is a very unsafe thing, and actually one of the questions I got, so the very first training I did, I was told there were going to be all plastic surgeons there. It turned out not to be that way. One of them was an ER doctor, and I was like, what the heck? And it was after that day I said, I'm never doing this again. But one of the questions he asked was like, so if I get into the bowel during liposuction on an awake patient, is that considered an emergency? And I literally, my jaw dropped under my mask. I was in the middle of doing a procedure on an awake patient. My scrub tech looked up at me. She realized that what I was thinking, we were thinking the same thing. And I looked at this ER doctor and I said, you know what? You either rush the patient to the nearest emergency room as fast as you can, or you call 911 to get an ambulance. Whatever is faster for you, you do that, because that is absolutely unsafe and is not an expected outcome and should not ever happen. And if it does, you got to take care of it. This is a legit question from an ER doctor.
I was going to say, if this is from an ER doctor,
you should know. Bowel perforation.
You should know what an emergency is. That's what you deal in is emergencies. Oh my God, that's wild.
That's what scared me is they really try to package this because it's like, hey, this is so easy to do. You turn it on, you suck out fat, you put in fluid, and I remember after doing that training, several of those people asked me like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Like, even after you taught me this, you did a great job, but like, this is not in my scope, And these people had already bought the device. Now they're like, I want to do this 200 something. Yes. What do I do with this $200,000 something device that I don't feel comfortable using, And I just did not appreciate that approach at all. I felt that it was just not in line with what I, kind of believed in, and so that's
Sell
why
it
I
first
got out
and
of
figure
that
it out on
situation.
the far end as far as patient safety is
that's.
concerned.
I mean, we know about this from laser companies. What's the quickest way to get a laser rep out of your office is to buy a laser, right? That's the old adage, and that's not true for every company. We have some great relationships with Saiton and some of these other companies, but that's the running joke, right?
I can hear the angry emails now.
Well, bring it. I can speak from personal experience. I'm not going to say it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, honestly, there's some really good representatives for different companies and great companies with good products. But, it just concerns me when we're trying to really simplify something that is surgical to label it as something that is not. That is just what irks me.
Yeah. And market it to people who aren't surgeons, who even after appropriate training from very skilled personnel feel themselves uncomfortable. And you worry that some of those people who didn't feel comfortable, didn't speak up, still use the system because they feel like they're in for it for enough money that they have to do it, and could hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, so my God, just like, is that an emergency when you stab people in the intestines? Like, yeah.
I'm sorry, I should laugh, but I was
just because it's a sterile stabbing to the bowels. It's like if somebody got stabbed in the guts on the street for their purse or something. Like, yeah, that's an emergency. Yeah. You got to do something about that and report it to the board, or at least we have to report it to our board. I don't know if the emergency room doctors have to report it to their board or board of cosmetic surgery. I don't know about that one.